In part 1 and 2, I talked about why milk is so unhealthy and the alternatives and the exceptions. In this video, I'm going to talk about cheese. What are the healthiest, the unhealthiest, or if you should be eating it at all. But I can tell you to start with, Americans especially are eating way too much cheese, but more importantly, the wrong types of cheese. And this, along with other toxic processed foods, have led to a dilemma here with diabetes and obesity and other illness and disease, and this is part of the problem. Now, there are smart researchers, nutritionists, and doctors on both sides of the debate, like Dr. Bernard and Dr. McGregor for vegan diets, and Dr. McCullough and Weston Price, amongst others, for meat and dairy. So who do you listen to? The answer is your own body. I don't believe that there's one diet that's right for everybody, and there's no definitive yes or no to this question, because although some cheeses have been shown to have a lot of nutrients, many people have dairy allergies and don't even know it, and most cheeses sold in supermarkets and other stores are low quality, highly processed with other ingredients, and terrible for you. So if I have to give an answer, I will tell you that I don't eat it and I don't suggest it. In fact, the first thing I do when people come to me for nutritional advice is tell them to get off all dairy for at least 2 weeks so we can see what's happening with their system. But if you are eating it, I can tell you for sure which ones you should avoid. But to understand what listening to your body means, it's not what you're craving, as amateur muscle testers might suggest. It's more based on how you're feeling right after you eat certain foods or food combinations, and more importantly, how your body feels after getting off of it for a couple of weeks, as well as how it feels once you reintroduce it to your body. If you're eating any type of dairy and it gives you an issue with bloating, gas, upset stomach, diarrhea, skin issues like rash or acne, have dry skin, get sick often, or feel tired a lot? Do you get a lot of ear infections or have joint or lower back pain? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, it's probably a good idea for you to get off cheese altogether and see if they persist. If they do, I would also get off any wheat or white flour products to see if you might have an allergic reaction to those as well. Now, that being said, there are a number of studies that show that certain types of cheese can have a lot of nutrients and health benefits to them, which is why a lot of doctors and nutritionists alike are recommending this. But to understand this better, it's important to know that there are different qualities of cheese, and most of what's sold in our supermarket, although it says cheese, is not actually cheese at all. And no one having anything to do with health or nutrition would recommend them. And even though there have been some studies showing benefits of pasteurized cheese, if you are eating cheese, I would only eat a high quality raw organic cheese, because pasteurized dairy is difficult to digest even for the healthiest people. In most cases, buying pasteurized dairy also supports factory farming and abuse of animals, and I and every health practitioner I know is totally against that. Anything that says pasteurized process on it should be avoided. Getting the health benefits of cheese is very specific, and since most cheese sold today is pasteurized, you really have to go out of your way to get a raw organic cheese, and it's expensive. I'm talking about $30 a pound and up. So if you're not sure if your cheese is raw or organic, then for sure it's not. And the reason you should always buy cheese organic is because the fat carries the largest doses of hormones and antibiotics from non-organic livestock, whereas organic, grass-fed, or pasture-raised cheese is free of antibiotics and hormones. And non-organic most often has GMOs in it, which can cause stomach upset, bloating, and other short and long-term digestive problems and more. Now this brings us to the topic of an ingredient in cheese called rennet. This is an enzyme that is used to turn milk into curd for the cheese making process, and there are two types of rennet that is commonly used. First is the most traditional, which is an animal rennet that is taken from calves. Yes, baby cows, since you can't get it from adult cows. So if you want to eat veal, for example, because of the abuse of animals, such as taking a baby calf away from its mother and killing it, or you're a vegetarian, then don't eat this cheese, since they have to kill the baby calf in order to get the enzyme to make this cheese. Now, with the demand of cheese so high, especially in the US, they're now using mostly a vegetable rennet or a fermented rennet. Now, this might sound like a better option until you realize that most vegetable rennet and all fermented or FPC rennet is genetically modified or GMO. And you really want to avoid that because it can cause digestive and intestinal problems, kill your gut bacteria, and a whole host of other things, which is why it's completely illegal in the cheeses in Europe. but they'll put it into cheese and ship it off to America because it's not illegal in America. And you won't know the difference because they don't have to label their source of rennet. So if you want to avoid the abusive animal situation, then avoid cheese altogether or only buy organic cheese made from vegetable rennet, which is difficult to find since 90% of this type of cheese is GMO and they don't have to label, as mentioned, whether it's vegetable or animal rennet, and they don't have to label GMOs, unfortunately. Now, the next problem that could cause you digestive or stomach issues with cheese has to do with poor food combining. Mixing meat with cheese, as well as mixing meat with starches like bread or pasta, is poor combining because meat, dairy, and starches are all digested in different areas of the body with different enzymes. And when those enzymes combine, they can cause problems like bloating, gas, acid reflux, and other digestive problems that can lead to more sickness and disease. Now, I'm talking about cheeseburgers, meat sauce and cheese, grilled cheese, mac and cheese. But for more on this, you could see my full blog on food combining and what will work best for you. The premise of this is that even though certain foods may be healthy for you, combining them can cause allergy-like symptoms or cause other illness. Now, if you can eat cheese with no problem, to give you an idea of how organic pasture-raised cheese can be a nutrient-dense food, it's first of all far superior than pasteurized in nutrition as well as taste. Grass-fed or pasture-raised has healthy omega-3 fats in the proper ratio with omega-6s. Unlike factory farm cheese or meat, it has 5 times the CLA of grain-fed cheese. CLA is conjugated linoleic acid, which is a powerful cancer fighter and metabolism booster, and it has more enzymes and higher vitamins and minerals and good bacteria. And high-quality organic cheese also has a great trio of vitamin D3, K2, and calcium, which together is vitally important for reducing your risk of cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and organ health. Now, as mentioned, I don't eat these, but if you are going to eat dairy, get the full-fat version of them in order to get these benefits as opposed to low-fat or skim milk versions. Fat allows for slower absorption and lets you go longer without feeling hungry, and they also act as carriers for important fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. So this may help with diabetes, weight loss, and other issues. Now, in the blog associated with this video, I'll have a list of cheeses and their nutrients, but don't overdo it. Understand that cheeses can be very high in salt, particularly the harder the cheese, the higher the sodium, although the harder cheeses do have more good bacteria. And softer cheeses can be more difficult to digest, especially for people with dairy problems. So think of cheese as more of a condiment rather than a meal. And remember that 90% of cheese that you find in the grocery store are going to be from CAFO farms or factory farms, which are terrible for the cow, our health, and the environment. And I never support eating these or pasteurized dairy. These cheeses do not have the nutritional value that I'm speaking of, and there are no processed cheeses that are healthy. They have additives like yellow 6 and tartrazine found in American cheese, which is, by the way, processed and should be avoided. Now, these 2 ingredients are banned in many European countries, and they have been shown in animal studies to promote tumor growth. Now, other cheeses you really want to avoid are those that come in a jar that are spreadable like peanut butter or in an aerosol spray can. They use toxic emulsifiers as well as GMO canola oil in order to get them to spray like that. Additives like sodium phosphate, sodium citronate, and various coloring agents in cheeses that I'll have mentioned in the blog, especially ones that kids seem to like a lot, and other cheeses that are spreadable and don't need to be refrigerated like this are not actually cheeses at all and should be avoided at all costs. Now, I also don't like any of the vegan cheeses or vegan butters that I've seen because they're made with a host of ingredients that I don't really like, including isolated plant proteins, soy, a combination of oils, and other ingredients that I don't like, and I would avoid those as well. I also will have some recipes in the blog associated with these videos for some vegan cheeses that you can make that actually taste pretty good, that are healthy and can be used as a cheese substitute. So as mentioned, despite there being many studies showing many benefits of certain cheeses, in my experience, there are just too many reasons to avoid it. You have to deal with pasteurization and dead bacteria, factory farms and abusive animals, pesticides, lactose, dairy, and casein intolerances, cheese that have a bunch of unhealthy, unnatural ingredients, cheese that is processed and not actually cheese, the fact that cheese has opiates in it, causing it to be addictive, and either the choice of abusive baby calves or GMO enzyme used to make the cheese without any need to have to label any of this. And I haven't even gotten into the fraudulent cheeses that say they're one type of cheese when they're actually not. So if you are going to eat it, be sure to have specific awareness of how your body feels when you do. And then for a real test, stop eating dairy altogether for about 2 weeks and see how your body feels then, and then see how you feel adding it back into your system. So I hope this was helpful for you. For more videos on health and wellness, don't forget to subscribe and check out theartofunity.com. Good luck with this.